Absolutely. It's going to be Officer Jim Bettencourt, Jimbettencourt, and I'm the Public Information Officer for the Oceanside Office of the California Highway Patrol.
Sir, if you would take us through what we know now about how this horrific accident occurred.
What about 10:55 this evening, a 19-year-old male from San Diego was driving his 2000 Honda Prelude eastbound State Route 78 just east of El Camino Real at an unknown speed. We don't really know at this time. For whatever reason, his vehicle turned to the right, veered off the roadway, collided into this pole that you see directly behind me, had some wires down in the roadway. Once the emergency personnel arrived on scene, they observed 8 total people in this car. 5 of them were transported to local hospitals, from Palomar to Tri-City to Scripps La Jolla. Unfortunately, there are 3 deceased individuals in this car, the male driver, a female passenger, and another male passenger. All the passengers haven't really been identified at this time. It's going to be a pretty extensive investigation. Way too many people in a small car like this, and we just need to find out why at this time.
Is there I know I'm just going to ask this, is there any breakdown on adults versus children? Are there little kids, teenagers?
It appears that most range in age from 19 to 22. That is the common theme with these. So young adults that were traveling in this vehicle. At this time, we don't know whether or not alcohol or drugs played a factor in this collision. That is going to be part of the investigation as we go through this and get information from the medical examiner's office and their toxicology reports and some of the interviews that we can do with some of the people that are at the scene. Their injuries range from moderate to major at this time, so it'll be a while before we can interview each and every one of them.
And again, in an attempt to break down what we witnessed here, do you know how many were taken via helicopter?
Yes, it appears there were 1 taken to Palomar Hospital via Mercy Air. The rest were transported via ground ambulance to, like I said, the various hospitals around the county.
Of those that are deceased, male, female?
2 males, 1 female that are deceased at this time.
And 1 being the driver?
Absolutely, yes.
Were there any witnesses to this?
I don't know. I haven't spoken with the officers to determine whether or not how many people witnessed this. The initial call, like I said, came in around 10:57. So, a couple minutes before that is when the crash actually happened. I'm sure we'll have some sort of information because somebody had to see it with the wires being down and the telephone pole cut. It was a pretty horrific crash.
Can you talk about kind of like the backup, I guess, that it caused? Because it had a signaler, and kind of how far the 78 was backed up for and for how long it shut down?
Yeah, at this time we have 2 lanes of the roadway shut down. So we have 1 lane open. The backup really starts just before El Camino Real, so not really too far at this time of night. We don't see the intense volumes of traffic that we see during the normal commute times. Hopefully we'll get everything cleared out of here before the morning commute starts.
Any idea on this may be too far into the investigation, but I'm going to go ahead and ask, any idea about seatbelts and what firefighters needed to do to extricate people?
Yeah, it's hard to say because at this time with so many passengers in a vehicle like that, there is definitely going to be some people in that car that did not have a seatbelt on. And so that's going to be part of our investigation, and we need to determine who was seatbelted, who was not, and if those individuals that were not seatbelted, if they contributed to some of the injuries that were involved in this collision.
I may be kind of stepping out of bounds here, but when you've overloaded a car that way, the way the car may handle and a young driver, is there anywhere you can go with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many distractions that come along with driving, period. And when you have a relatively new driver, especially a 19-year-old driver behind the wheel with, essentially 7 other passengers in that vehicle, talking and making noise and wanting you to do separate things, there's always going to be distractions and things that are going to take away from focusing on the roadway. that's questions that we're going to have to ask the passengers about what exactly was going on prior to this crash. Were, people messing around in the car? Was it difficult for the driver to steer with so many people in the car? We just don't know. We're just going to have to, wait and see what the results of the investigation are.
So one thing I noticed is there was a lot of personal belongings, I guess, scattered about. Is there any indication to where they may have been going, or if they were traveling somewhere as a group, or was it just?
At this time, it's hard to say. I mean, whether or not they were en route to somewhere or coming from somewhere, that's something that we're going to get once we interview all the passengers.
Can you clarify the make and model of the vehicle?
It's a 2000 Honda Prelude.
So that's an SUV type.
Yeah, sedan. Yeah, sedan.
Okay.
Is there any power outages?
I'm not aware of any power outages in the area or if this affected anybody, but it's a possibility. It doesn't appear that the integrity of the wires has been compromised, just the pole that was holding them up.
And how long do you think the investigation will go on, as you said, if you're hoping?
Anytime we have a fatal investigation, it could take months before we get the right answers as to exactly what was happening. But in a situation like this, I mean, this is something that we really owe it to all of the victims involved in this tragic crash. We owe it to the families to make sure that we get down to it and find out exactly what happened in this crash, and try to prevent it from happening again. By getting the message out to people that maybe it's just not safe to overload a car like that.
Is there anything else you'd like to stress or add, or?
That's it. No, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.